All right, guys, this is X Benjamin X from DailyRotosharks.com, and we are here with Draft Shot Ash. Ash, we've been talking a little bit over the Twitter sphere for a while now, and it's about time that and DraftShot.com got together. So, welcome, Ash, and thanks for joining me. We're going to talk a little bit about NFL preseason and coming into the regular season. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me on, man. We love your MLB sheets, man. They're real sharp. We've had a lot of members use them and pull in some big pots with them. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. No problem. And, we've kind of taken the same direction when it comes to DFS providing and content. And we were never really on the whole lineup selling thing. And I think that's what both of us have remained consistent, and we have been true to our words with that stuff. And I think that a lot of people appreciate that. And I know that we like seeing you guys do well. So it's about time that we join forces. So I think this NFL season is the perfect time for that.
Definitely. Yeah, it's hard to find just honest people who stick to their word in the DFS world. We're going through kind of like a evolution right now. It's still kind of a young industry. It's refreshing to see another website kind of take that stance and stick to it.
Absolutely.
And be successful. So.
Yes, sir. So let's get into a little bit about Draft Shot first. And so if you can, give me a little synopsis about how you came to form with Draft Shot and some of the guys at the top, how you all set this up together.
A few years back, I started playing on FanDuel, and I started blogging on Tumblr because I love fantasy sports. And if you know Tumblr, it's like no one's reading your blog or anything. You're just blogging, and I was just doing it for the love of the game, and that year I was like posting my picks, and I started winning, and I would go on like a Facebook group and post my picks, and I ran into Draft Shot co-founder Don Lahr, and I took my winnings from my first year, and I said, hey man, I can't really do it on Tumblr anymore. I want to make a little bit more money. Build me a website. So from that point on, he built me a website, and we kind of formed up, and people just kind of popped up along the way. And it's basically our mantra is trust the process, right? It's like, this is a process. I started with $30, okay, and I've built up this website, this web presence, and I've kind of grinded up from there. And that's kind of what Draft Shot is all about. Yeah, you can hit $1 million pot in DFS, but most of the time you're going to have to take step-by-step approach and do it little by little, and that's what we've done with Draft Shot.
I agree, and I think that has to do a lot with bankroll management and game selection, and these are some of the things that people really struggle with when they're first coming into DFS, especially with coming from season-long leagues. Most of the popularity in DFS stems from NFL fans, I'd like to say. So that's where a lot of the big money is, and coming into this season, there's going to be a lot of people coming in. New York just got our license back, thank God. So a lot of people with money in New York are going to be coming into the pool, and that's good for everybody. That's good for us. That's more people to subscribe to our content and that we can help out. That's more fish in the pool for us to, use our dynamite and get them out there. So our dynamite happens to be sheets. Coincidentally, both of our websites, it's been easy for us to kind of give out the data and descriptions around it to help you guys in order to build your lineups and lineup construction. So we're going to get into NFL preseason. And is there anything you'd like to say, Ash, before we get started?
No, man. Glad to have me. Let's get started, man.
All right, cool. So looking at this slate for tomorrow for the NFL, we have a 6-game slate that starts at 1. So we have one game at 1 p.m. Eastern time, of course. That is Kansas City at Chicago. Then we have 2 games at 7 p.m., Detroit at Baltimore and Philadelphia at Indianapolis. We have one game at 7:30. That's the New York versus New York, which I'll be paying attention to very, very intently. Then we have a game at 8, which is the Tennessee at Oakland game, and we have a game at 9, which is the LA at Denver game. So let's get into Kansas City at Chicago. So one question that I asked you right before we started was, going into week 3, this seems to be the week every year that the starters start making their appearances and playing a little bit longer. You want to just go over briefly what you were telling me right before we got on here?
So this is going to be treated as an actual game and a dress rehearsal for NFL teams. So most of my sources, Twitter, just searching around different beat writers, I found multiple coaches say, hey, we're going to treat this like a real game. We're going to go into halftime. We're going to make adjustments, and then we're going to come out in the third quarter just like a regular game. We're going to treat it like we're going to rotate players just like it was the regular season. After 1 or 2 series in the third quarter, then the starters are going to sit down. So pedal to the metal in this one.
Okay, so is there anything specifically in this game that jumps out at you in terms of matchup, in terms of starters versus starters matchups?
Well, I haven't been able to find anything on the Chiefs just yet. And there's definitely going to be some more information popping up early in the morning tomorrow, so look out for that. I'll tag you in the post when I see that as well. What pops out for me is I definitely found information on Chicago. Fox said he's going to be rotating players in and out. Jeremy Langford is going to get the majority of the carries. Mm-hmm. You know, he's kind of a beast. He's a freak of nature at the running back position. White is going to get an extended look finally. Remember, he was kind of like a red shirt last year. He didn't really play. So the thing I like about this game, and it's kind of a gamble because it's against Kansas City, but remember you're playing vanilla defenses, is that Jay Cutler, he likes to bomb it deep. And then you have Alshon Jeffrey and White running around. You know Cutler is going to bomb it deep a few times to White just to see what he has in that receiver. Whether he comes down with them or not, I don't know, but I love that stack tomorrow as kind of a GPP play. And Cutler is radioactive. The public hates him. They haven't looked that great in preseason. So that's the one thing that kind of jumps out at me in this game.
Yeah, so we know that Kansas City, they appear to be a better defense at times than they are, especially in terms of the secondary. And I think people definitely see Kansas City on the schedule and think to not take players against them. But in terms of a passing game, that's actually where they're susceptible. So I agree with that. And do you think there will be enough targets to expect a normal amount of production, or are we trying to kind of shorten what we would expect in terms of a scorecard? So like instead of hoping for like, you know, a 10 reception touchdown game or something like, you know, 100 yards, are we looking for, oh, let's hope he gets, you know, 5 or 6 catches and like 60 yards? Like what's the range around that you would expect?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head right there. It's going to be we're hoping for about 60% of their regular production. So 5-ish targets for White would be great. It would be like a regular game production. And because he can take the top off of a defense, we're going to bump him up a little bit. I also kind of like Alshon Jeffrey because Cutler's probably going to look his way in the red zone if they make it down that far. I don't know if they're going to make it to the red zone or not. Eric Berry is coming back this game, which normally I would be like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't play him. But KC's on the road, and they're going to be playing a mostly vanilla defense. You know, maybe they might try a few things. So I wouldn't worry too much about the KC defense in this one.
I also don't picture Eric Berry being on a full leash, you know, like first game back. I can't imagine him being in there all game. But when Alshon was playing last year, he was getting 10 targets per game. and that's a good amount. Any receiver who's going to be getting that in a full game is really good to look at. And when we look at his red zone numbers for the season, he had 17 targets and 7 completions. So that's only a 41% completion percentage. So it seems to me that he's actually like he's a better just big play guy when he gets his touchdowns. He doesn't get them from short in. So I think they might be looking more for players like Kevin White, as you said, and even like a Zach Miller at tight end. I'm not sure if he'll be playing in the preseason, but what do you think about the tight end for Chicago here?
There was a tight end that was going to get an extended look. I can't remember his name, but what I read about him is he was like playing defensive end last year, so he wasn't like a pass. He's not like a pass catching tight end where you're going to want to roll him out. I like Miller because he can score pretty quick. He's really athletic as well. They're just not somebody I'm really looking too hard at in this one. So
on the opposite side, do you think Kelsey is going to be coming in and getting a full amount of the 60% of what we're projecting?
Yeah, here's the thing about Casey. Even though I don't have too much info on them, I really, really like them. I really like the Kelsey Smith stack or the Smith Macklin stack. They connected last week for a touchdown. So, and it's not like the Bears defense is really that scary. They got some interesting players in the front seven, but they also have a lot of injuries right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, I feel like the Chiefs, if you're going to stack a team, they're like a cash game play for sure.
Cash game for the Chiefs. All right, I'll keep that in mind. And one thing to just notice right off the bat here is strategy-wise, game theory-wise. This is going to be the only early game tomorrow, so I can only imagine that the ownership is going to be higher than it normally would because people are going to be watching that game and they're going to want to see their players. So just in terms of GPP, I think there's definitely merit to looking past this game. But if you have any notes on maybe who would be the backups that would come in and receive some second half time, I think that would be extremely useful in this situation. Is there anybody on either side who you think may get some of the second half run?
There's nobody that really jumped out at me that you're going to really want to play. So I didn't really make any notes of them. And, you'd be surprised actually about ownership percentages. Last week, I wanted to play Cam Newton a bunch, but I was like, oh, his ownership's going to be through the roof.
Yeah.
And he was only like 5% owned. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. And he connected with Ginn for a deep touchdown as well.
How is that possible? Everyone's just going for the backups and forget about the starters in general?
They might have been looking ahead to the later games or something like that. It was weird. So some of the stuff that you would apply in regular season, you almost don't want to overthink in preseason. So tomorrow, yeah, there are some backups that might be in play, but it's all about the starters tomorrow. And there's no backups on these two teams specifically that I really want a piece of any of their action.
All right, cool. I think that's definitely enough to go through there. Would you take a defense on either of these teams?
No, I'm not messing with any of the defenses on these two teams.
Okay, so moving on. We have Detroit at Baltimore, and these are two teams that are actually going to be throwing the ball a lot more than they usually do. One thing that's interesting is Flacco actually led the league in pass attempts last year. And when you consider the fact that he also has Mike Wallace there with Steve Smith, I think he's going to be airing the ball out a lot. So this actually, to me, it looks like it could be a potential shootout on both sides of the ball because we know Baltimore's defense isn't as good as it has been in the past. Would you agree, or do you have any other comments on that?
Yeah, actually, the Ravens are a team I'm going to be targeting pretty early in the regular season because their defense isn't very good. And then, like you said, Flacco led the league in pass attempts in 11 games. He didn't even finish the entire season, so he's going to be airing it out. I really like how you consider this one a shootout. I really like Stafford. I love the Lions. Kind of like a backup guy on the Lions that I really love, who the Lions offensive coordinator already came out and said that he's going to get extended play, is Dwayne Washington. He's a running back. And he's just been so impressive in camp. They just want to give him carries. So he's one of those guys. He's going to get some first-team play as well as, I think, some extended run in the first half as well. So somebody you should definitely look at. Stafford, it's going to be tough to pick whether you want to stack him with Jones or Tate.
Mm-hmm.
Jones obviously has been the talk of the camp. I'm sure you've seen that. On the Ravens side, I was not able to find too much information just yet. I do kind of like Flacco, but I'm still trying to figure out what wide receiver to stack him with, because Steve Smith isn't playing, and I don't think Rashad Perriman is playing either. So one of those backups is going to be money in that game.
What about Kamar Aiken?
I definitely like Kamar Aiken. I'm glad you brought him up. So he's going to get an extended run with Joe Flacco. So
Good. I like him. He emerged as a good PPR option last year towards the end of the season, and one of the stats that I have on him is he was ranked number 15 in total yards at the catch, averaging 10 yards at the catch per reception. And I think this is a very underutilized, maybe even underknown about stat, yards at the catch. It's exactly what you would think it is. Instead of being yards after the catch, it's the amount of yards led up to where that catch is. So if he's running a 10-yard hook and catches the ball 10 yards away, that's 10 yards at the catch. So this helps you to identify players who catch the ball further down the field and don't have a lot of ability to run with the ball afterwards. One of the examples is DeAndre Hopkins. He is a much better player in terms of going up and getting the ball down the field than he is at catching a slant or a hook and turning up. So that's a good way of identifying PPR plays, and Kamar Aiken is one of the top in the league in the second half of the season.
Good stuff. A couple more things about the Lions is TJ Jones has been playing pretty well. He'll probably come in the second half. And another thing about Dwayne Washington, they feel so strongly about him, they cut Ridley. So
I saw that. It's pretty wild. No, Bill Belichick's probably going to go pick him up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Amir Abdullah is rallying to play tomorrow, but they're unsure if he's going to play. So if he doesn't play, it'll be a lot of Washington.
Washington, let's see, we have right here Dwayne Washington in direct competition with George Wynn for one roster spot. That's so interesting when, like when you watch like a Hard Knocks or something and you see these guys are really competing for their lives, and it depends on if they have a good game or not to see if they even make the team.
Yeah.
Theo Riddick, does he have any viability in this offense for tomorrow?
I kind of like him because it's DK and it's PPR, and he could rack up like 4 to 5 catches quick and break one, for a touchdown. So I definitely like playing Theo Riddick tomorrow. You could even argue stacking him with Stafford or going like a Stafford Jones Riddick stack, something like that. Because you saw Stafford at the end of last year when Jim Bob Cooter came on board. He looked like the old school Stafford again. So
Stafford I feel like he's such an extreme guy in his throws. He either throws very short or way down the field. There really isn't like a mid game with that, and that's good for fantasy.
Right. I agree.
Okay, so one thing I'd like to add is I think this may be a long shot, but this guy Kenneth Dixon, I think Ken Dixon is going to be a factor in this offense at some point in this season. So I'm hoping that he gets a little bit of run tomorrow, and who knows? I mean, he's gotten he's gotten a bunch of carries in the game so far, and he's been doing well. So, do you have any thoughts on Kenneth Dixon, or if he may play, or if he does, if you would like to use him?
I'm not 100% sure on Kenneth Dixon. He's on like my watch list for early in the morning tomorrow. So I'm going to keep an eye on that for you, and I'll definitely tweet that out. So
All right, cool. Because I mean, Terrence West doesn't impress me. Buck Allen, you know, we've seen him play. They tried him all last year. That didn't really work too much, and I think Ken Dixon's going to come up. He went to Louisiana Tech. I used to watch him at college.
yeah, I mean, word out of camp, they're raving about him. So I think that's a great call.
Good, good. I would love to see him do well. So looking at this, I really don't see any options here in terms of tight ends. I think Eric Ebron is still hurt. I think Max Williams. I think they said that they weren't using him as much as they expected to. Do you have any notes on any tight ends here? Maybe Ben Watson entering the offense, or Crockett Gilmore, someone like that.
I haven't seen it, heard enough out of any of them yet to make them like viable plays for tomorrow just yet. So they're not someone I'm going to be targeting heavily tomorrow or at all. So
All right, so we're gonna have to find a spot that we like a tight end. So far we're like 0 for 6.
so far, yeah,
Good games.
exactly. We'll keep it moving.
All right, so any of these defenses?
No, considering it's going to be a shootout tomorrow, none of these defenses are going to be in play. So
Okay, so we're staying on the trend so far of leaning towards starters, not having much. I think it would have been easier for you guys to predict the first 2 games in terms of the backup numbers, because you know the starters won't really be in there at all. But now that they're coming back, what do you think? Maybe like predict the backups might have a second half, maybe just a fourth quarter. How much time do we expect to be divided there?
some of these guys might only have a quarter. It's going to be like player by player dependent. Now the coaches have enough notes on these guys, so it's going to kind of fall on the shoulders of some of the beat writers on Twitter who are like, hey, you know, Kenneth Dixon is suddenly going to get a full half, or maybe he's only going to play a quarter. That's the thing about preseason football, is there's a lot of information passing back and forth leading up to lock, and it's the tough part is it's not focused. Like everybody is doing DFS content for the regular season now, but not many people are doing it for preseason, and it's not like the public is excited to watch Saturday preseason games. So there's just not a need for. So we gotta look. We're gonna have to uncover some gems tomorrow, which we will. So
all right, cool. So I mean, we only have a few games here, so let's just breeze through them and let's go. Let's just talk about starters, and then we'll cruise back around and see if there's any backups that we think might be viable. So.
Okay.
Looking at the next game, we have Philadelphia versus Indianapolis. We know Vontae Davis isn't playing. I think that fares pretty well for the Eagles. But is there any starter that stands out to you that you would like to play in terms of either offense?
Oh my! So this game is like a potential gold mine. I think Colts are down 6 cornerbacks. Okay, so they're not just down Davis; they're down 6 cornerbacks. So Bradford, Ryan Matthews, Jordan Matthews. This is kind of a reach. Dorial Green-Beckham, he got chased out of Tennessee because of Tajay Sharp, but they've welcomed him with open arms in Philadelphia. They really made an effort to make him feel welcome. Everybody's impressed with his physicality and athleticism. So maybe he might be motivated tomorrow to kind of go out and.
Is he going to be playing with the first team offense?
What's that?
The RotoWire says Dorial Green-Beckham is going to be playing with the first team offense on Saturday.
Yeah, so there you go, man. That guy is a dark horse if there's ever going to be one tomorrow.
I agree. So far, we like that second game, the Detroit-Baltimore. We like a little bit of KC and maybe some of the Chicago receivers. This game, I think you can take if you can reasonably expect anyone to play 3 quarters, two or 3 quarters here. I think this is definitely a game to target.
The Colts.
Running back wise, what do you think?
This one's kind of interesting. I mean, the Colts coach came out and said they're going to play 2 full quarters, go into half, make adjustments, and play a couple series going into the third. So I love the Colts players in this one. It's kind of hard. I think Frank Gore is in play in this one. The running back that's continually disappointed me is Josh Ferguson. He's been impressive in practices, but when he gets on the field, he doesn't do well. The thing about Ferguson is he's really athletic. They keep splitting him out wide. So they're trying to set something up for him, but he's like drop passes or he hasn't hit the hole very well. So leading up to tomorrow's game, it's going to be interesting to hear what the beat writers say. Is Ferguson going to get an extended run with the starters? Is he going to go in the second half and only get a quarter? I'm not 100% sure how that's going to play out.
So basically follow the beat writers and listen to see what they say tomorrow.
About Ferguson, but Gore is in play. He's definitely in play because he's going to be going with the first-team offense. I love Andrew Luck tomorrow. I love T.Y. Hilton. You can make an argument for Moncrief as well.
I like all those players. Ty, we know he's a big down the field guy. So hopefully, I mean, he has a hamstring issue, and when you're a receiver that you need your top end speed, that's really tough to deal with. So if we're going with Ty, I personally probably wouldn't use him if I was playing any kind of cash, but his boom bust nature is even more boom bust in my opinion because of that hamstring.
The thing about Hilton is like it could be like a Julio Jones thing yesterday. I played Julio and Ryan just to kind of gamble it up a bit, and Julio kind of tweaked his ankle or something, and then he didn't go back in. That's the same risk that you're going to be taking with T.Y. Hilton tomorrow, but it could be worth it.
Exactly. So, I agree. I whenever anyone sees that questionable or probable, it always makes you look twice.
Right.
All right. So I like those options. What do you think about Philip Dorsett?
I like Philip Dorsett tomorrow. I'm just not sure how much I like him just yet. He's looked really smooth in preseason. He's been having a pretty good camp. He's definitely like a sneaky play because he's got that T.Y. Hilton feel to him, so he could definitely break one deep. He's a good tournament player for sure.
He ran a 4.35 at the combine. Dude is quick.
Definitely.
Tight ends here. So we have Kobe Fleener, who was Andrew Luck's, roommate in college, left, and there's going to be some targets opening up, and it seems like they're all going to go to Dwayne Allen. He's the only tight end that really even sticks out to me in this game at all, besides maybe Zach Ertz. Is there anyone else who sticks out to you in this game?
Yeah, we finally found some tight ends we can work with.
Right? So I'm saying, and out of the bunch, there's only really 2 that are even an option.
Well, you know how the Colts are. They kind of like running that 2 tight end stuff. So don't sleep on Jack Doyle. I think he's a solid play to target at tight end tomorrow.
All right, cool. So we heard it here first. The first sleeper tight end, Jack Doyle.
There you go. Yeah, and Ertz and Selleck, they're in play. I would rather go Doyle or Allen personally.
All right, cool. So it seems like we covered most of this game, and when it comes to flex, I think in the preseason, flex is so important in the regular season, for a lot of salary relief and things like that. But you don't even need anything close to that here. So how do you deal with salary in terms of this? Like, do you try to, be like, all right, well, I know this guy is much better than this price, or this guy may not even reach this value. Like, do you consider salary at all in preseason?
No, you can't. And it's kind of cool because it gives you a different perspective going into the regular season, and it kind of forces you to trust your reads more and develop your own reads, because you just have to pick the best player. Not necessarily the best player, but the player who might get the most snaps. And if it's not that case, then it's the player that you think is going to go off. And you just got to live and die by your decision. And there's no salary influencing that whatsoever.
Right, and the reason I even mentioned that, because I think this is good practice for the regular season, and you're picking players based on just how good you think they're gonna do. So I think a good practice is to kind of block out the salary and come up with your favorite overall players, and then you look at their salary, and then you'll see like, all right, well, I was expecting this, and this guy's overpriced or underpriced, and I think this is good practice. I never did it before, but I was looking at it, I was like, damn, like, it's tough. You could be picking anybody because they're all at the same price. You don't know who's going to do what. It's pretty wild.
Another cool thing about this is you have your finger on the pulse before the public does for some wide receiver threes or some sleeper picks. And I've got a list of wide receiver threes, if you want to talk about it at the end of this video, that I think you should keep an eye on going into the regular season.
All right, cool. All right, so let's breeze through these games, and instead of talking about who we think might be a bad play, let's just go by the game and say, who do you think is going to be a good play? So looking at this Giants versus Jets game, is there anyone who stands out to you as a good play or a must play?
The Jets defense. The Giants have just looked horrible on offense. They're in transition. They just look terrible. So Jets defense is a must play for me. I wouldn't target anyone on the Giants right now. I don't see them busting out of a fog suddenly and doing well in preseason.
Okay, so does that take Odell out of consideration for you?
Yeah, I'm just gonna fade Odell. I'll take my chance if he breaks one deep, which he could. I'm taking my chances and fading him.
Okay, and what about players like Sterling Shepard or possibly Victor Cruz?
Victor Cruz is coming back, but that injury, I don't see him contributing tomorrow. Shepard has looked great in camp. He's looked fantastic, but Giants have looked so bad in preseason that Eli just can't get him the ball. So I'm not playing anybody on the Giants.
All right, so would it be safe to say that the Giants are good to target against, with a Fitzpatrick or Marshall or Decker, any of those guys?
The thing about the Jets that I really like is that I feel like Fitzpatrick could march him down the field quick and score with either one of those two. I think Decker was like top 5 last year in red zone targets. Mm-hmm. But he didn't convert them. I mean, that could just be like variance. That could be a lot of things. So, that could stabilize this year. So I like Fitzpatrick a lot, but I'm still trying to figure out which receiver to pick. I could even say just flip a coin, and it would be almost a similar play.
Right. And they were both top 5 in the red zone last year. You had Decker was 28 targets, 12 completions, and 10 touchdowns. Marshall, 25 targets, 14 completions, and 10 touchdowns. And they actually led the league in wide receiver fantasy points as a duo, and they were second in targets behind the Denver combo. So
nice.
They get fed. They get fed. And, I'm a Giants fan. I like the Jets too, but the Giants defense is just not looking up to par. Maybe their pass rush, but besides that, it's not looking too good. So
right.
I think the Jets are certainly viable tomorrow, if we're considering they're going to get a full allotment of plays.
Yeah, and they should. I haven't heard confirmation yet, but all signs are pointing that they will be. So.
All right. So is there anyone else who sticks out to you in this game at all that's worth mentioning?
No, just looking at the running back situation, there's just not really anybody who I would really want to target. You could maybe consider Jason Morrow or something like that, but I don't think so. Yeah.
He's awful. All right, so we would use the Jets D. So going into Tennessee versus Oakland, Is there anybody who stands out as a potential must play for you right off the bat?
Tajay Sharp. Just remember that name. Mariota
I'm
loves
so
him.
glad you mentioned that.
Mariota loves
I actually
Tajay.
just dropped Chris Conley in my league. The league didn't even start yet. I'm already making moves, but I dropped him in my league. I just picked up Tajay Sharp because I was watching some highlights on him. That kid, he's a baller.
He's such a baller. They decided not to be patient with Dorial Green Beckham anymore. He's a crisp route runner. He's not a burner by any means, but word out of training camp, he can run the entire wide receiver route tree, and Mariota just keeps looking his way. So
they said they developed a chemistry.
Definitely. So he's a guy I'm going to be targeting heavily the first month of the regular season. He might be my go-to wide receiver 3, especially on DraftKings, which is PPR. I don't think he's like going to bust like a 50-yard touchdown, but he's going to get like 10, 12 targets, 6 catches, 80 to 100 yards, and they're going to look his way in the red zone as well.
Right, yeah. I think he's going to be their number 1 or number 2 guy, Rashard Matthews is there, and he's a big guy. He might get some red zone opportunities, but it seems like Tajay Sharp, he may even take over as like the potential number 1, especially with Kendall Wright not being that good of a football player.
Right, yeah, he never really panned out. So
no, so would you consider any of the other guys on that Tennessee offense, like Walker, Henry, or DeMarco, any of them a play?
Yeah, I think Henry's definitely in play. They just love him in Tennessee, and if they get down by the goal line, I think they're gonna keep feeding him because they just want to keep seeing what he can do down there. He's been very impressive. He's looked pretty good in game situations as well. I think Murray is in play as well because he gets PPR stuff. So it's going to be tough to pick one or the other. Out of the two, they're both in play right now. I give the bump to Henry right now.
Okay, that's very interesting. I'll certainly keep that in mind. So it looks like David Cobb and Bishop Sankey, they're just out of there. You have no shot.
They're hanging on by a thread. If you really want to gamble on one quarter of play out of both of them, be my guest, but I'm not going to do it. So.
Not even. Would you use either of the quarterbacks, Carr or Mariota?
Yeah, I would use both of them. I like both of them in this one. I especially like Mariota stacked with Sharp. So, and I kind of like Cooper and Carr because Cooper is a burner, man. He can take the top off of a defense, and he's had a really good camp. He's focused on, minimizing drops as well. So
cool. And so one thing that I'd like to mention is something that I'm sure you know who he is, Tommy G from Scout and Fantasy Alarm. He mentioned something about a GPP strategy that he likes to use, and everybody knows about the stacking the wide receiver with the quarterback and even stacking 2 wide receivers or whatever. But one thing he recommends is if you think it's going to be a shootout of a game, not only should you stack the team you think is going to go off, but stack the top wide receiver from the opposing team. Because if one team, if you expect there to be a lot of touchdowns scored on both sides, it's got to be happening from the top guys, at least some of the production. Because if a team goes up too fast and they're way ahead, they'll just start running the ball. So you need to have that back and forth. So if you expect one team to go off, and you want a shootout, it's not a bad idea to stack a receiver from the opposing team. So
I love that. Yeah, I love that strategy. So
yeah, so like a Mariota with a Tajay Sharp and Amari Cooper stack or something like that.
That's a really good call. I didn't think about that. I'm going to use that tomorrow.
Yeah. So if that goes off as a stack, then you're looking at points on both sides, and neither of these defenses are anything to fear. Except Tennessee, I feel like they did well against the pass last year, but nothing really for. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, the run. They did well against the run last year, not the pass. They got torched with the pass. So for me, I like.
Yeah. Biddy Ray Wilson for the Titans is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league too. So I don't know if he's still there or not, but
hopefully he is.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right. So, any tight ends from this game?
I guess you could make a case for Walker. I don't really think anybody on the Raiders is really worth playing at tight end. But speaking of running back, though, there's an interesting situation brewing for the Raiders tomorrow. Washington is going to get DeAndre Washington's going to get play with the first team, and they drafted this player, Jalen Richardson, and he's been lighting camp up, but he's been injured for the first 2 games, and he's going to get play with the first team. I'm not sure, what's going to happen with Murray, though. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, because they could, give him a series or 2 and then take him out. But no, that's definitely a good tidbit. So that's DeAndre Washington of Oakland.
Yeah.
Definitely. So. Would you use either of these 2 defenses?
No. These 2 defenses.
No. All right, cool. So one question before we even start this. Jets or Broncos D?
Oh man, that's so tough, man. I was flip-flopping between the 2. I feel like everybody's going to flock to the Broncos by default. So if you want to mix it up, I would go the Jets. So,
I agree, especially since the Broncos, they're going to be playing a rookie. He doesn't know what he's in for, but I can certainly see the Jets being an alternate, but I think I would lock in Broncos and move on.
Yeah, I don't think you should overthink it. So I like that play too.
The only person who can hurt them over there is Todd Gurley if they run him 30 times, and I don't think that's happening.
I'm not sure I don't think he's playing tomorrow, so I don't think you have to worry about that at all.
Smart not to play him.
What's his name? The Keenum is playing 3 series, and then Goff is going to go in after that. So
that's a feast. That's a feast. That's a quarterback shish kebab.
It's almost too good to be true, You're like, what's the catch in this one?
Yes, you might have to play the Jets in a GPP just because of that fact that they might be 99% owned.
Exactly.
Damn, there are so many home runs going on tonight. It's unreal. Cabrera just hit another one.
Nice.
Between the 2 New York teams, there's 21 runs scored in the 6th inning.
What the fuck? Wow.
That's in the Yankees.
That's insane.
Yeah. But all right, so we have Mark Sanchez, Mr. Fumble himself. And the Rams they have a good pass rush. They have an okay, cornerback core, but nothing crazy. But Mark Sanchez isn't that good of a quarterback. He's not, I can't really see using him and trying to get more than 2 touchdowns tomorrow or 2 or more. What do you think? Do you think he has the potential to be one of the top quarterbacks?
No, I don't. It's he's lost all his momentum in camp. So he has he's coming from behind mentally right now. So he's stressing out. He knows he could be cut. And I don't like Mark Sanchez in that situation at all. So
well, he's not even starting. Trevor Siemian is starting against the Rams. And but Siemian, Lynch, and Mark Sanchez will receive the same number of game reps. Huh. So that's
I don't know.
Stay away.
That's a clusterfuck, man. I kind of like Lynch. That's it. I kind of like Lynch because maybe he gets a little bit of an extended run. He can make plays with his legs as well. But it's a huge risk, and I don't even think you have to do it in preseason because the field is making so many mistakes that you don't have to necessarily do that.
At what week do you think Paxton Lynch will gain the starting reins?
Originally, I thought Kubiak was just going to go ahead and be like, play week 1, but then I saw the Panthers on the schedule, and I was like, that would be cruel to just throw him into prime time against the Panthers, even though it's at home. I think after the first month, it's coming. I think Kubiak's going to give Simeon 4 to 6 weeks to see what happens, and if he looks serviceable, Lynch might not have to come in. But even then, if he looks average, why not take the upside of Lynch?
Right. I agree. I think Lynch is going to be good for them in the long run. And another report says that Simeon will play a lot in Saturday's preseason game against the Rams. So if there was anyone to take, it would be him this weekend.
Which you can.
Which you can, doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this seems like a game I'm basically staying away from, except for defense.
Good call.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't see using any of the wide receivers. I like Demarius. I like Sanders. I like these guys, but I don't see them making much of an impact tomorrow, especially with a new rookie, Simeon, whoever he is. Do you see any means to taking any offensive player in this game besides defense?
You know, you could always take a chance on a guy like Demaryius Thomas in preseason, like Julio or Hilton. They can score on a 50-yard bomb against vanilla defenses.
Right.
So, yeah, he's in play. Am I going to use him? Probably not.
Right. Okay. I feel the same way. So, if we can let's just do a quick run through. So we liked, in terms of quarterbacks, Alex Smith, Matt Stafford, anyone from the Philadelphia-Indianapolis game, but we don't know who's even playing really. Okay, so personally for me, I do like Stafford. Oh, man, I just put in Bradford. I don't want to mistake that.
No, you don't want to get stuck doing that. No way.
So if I was going to go real quick, I like Stafford. I know I want to play Sharp tomorrow. I'll just throw him in there just because I like him. I'll play Stafford. Would you go Golden Tate or Marvin Jones as a receiver?
I'm going to go with Jones because he's been hot in training camp. So
Marvin Jones. Running backs. I think we said you liked Derrick Henry. I don't know how many of the rushes he's going to get. Let's see.
Yeah, he's still kind of a gamble. I just like how much they like him and that he's going to get looks around the goal line.
I like it. So we'll throw Henry in, and I'll just use this lineup and whatever, and just throw it in something just for the hell of it. The other running back, let's see, Latavius Murray. I don't think we ended up on. Were there any sleepers or standouts that you liked at running back?
We're going to go with the Washington play for the Lions, which is kind of awkward because you're stacking 3 Lions, but it is preseason, so
you never know.
Yeah.
And we don't actually need the salary relief either.
Exactly. So
actually, let me get let's see. Well, right now I have Henry and Tajay Sharp. So I'll make the decision to take Sharp out of there and run Henry. Let's see, because I don't think that's very good to stack both of those guys.
I don't think you should do that. I think you should keep Sharp in, and if anything, you should maybe gamble on Ryan Matthews, who's going to get an extended run against the Colts. On Philadelphia.
It's very interesting. Ran the ball 5 times. I don't think we mentioned Matthews.
We didn't get to Matthews, but he's looked great, and if they're going to play a half, I really kind of like him.
All right, cool. I'll try him out. Let's do it. So then let's go for a third wide receiver. I want to take a stud. I want to get someone who we know is a beast. Would you go with Brandon Marshall. Is that someone that you would want to fit into one of your top line?
I like Marshall because he can score quick. He's going to get the targets in the red zone. I like Brandon Marshall tomorrow.
Yeah, I think he can score from anywhere on the field. He's still got it. Tight end. There really isn't much going on here. You know, we have our Delaney Walker, who's going to be popular. Ben Watson may be popular. Let's see. Travis Kelce, but I don't think he'll get a full amount of run.
You could go Jack Doyle.
Oh yeah, your boy Doyle, right? That's the one you look at. All right, yeah. So we'll go there, and then we have. I'm gonna lock in the Broncos defense and not think about it. And let's see, we have a flex player left. Let's see, what are we thinking? We got.
We could go with the Matthews or the Amari Cooper play.
Oh yeah. Amari Cooper. Let's see. There. Tennessee. Amari Cooper against Tennessee. Actually, I'm gonna save Amari Cooper for the other stack I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stack that game.
Gotcha.
I got. You know what? Do you think Jamal Charles? Oh wait, Charles said he isn't gonna play. Who's gonna be his backup? Spencer Ware?
Yeah, Spencer Ware gets a lot of goal line carries, or at least he did last week, and they were throwing the ball his way too. So
yeah, I like Spencer Ware. So here, let me just show this. So and anybody who sees this, if you want to use this, you're more than welcome. You know, we don't sell lineups, but this is a rare scenario where we'll make one and show. So this is what we came up with. This, you know, I'm not saying this is going to win a ton of money, but this is on the fly. Players we like, players we went over, so I can live with it.
Looks good to me. Yeah.
And we even have 500 salary left.
All
right, so I'll create that lineup.
Cool.
So here, let me get back in over here. All right, so we know that Friday night at a little past dinner time, a little before go out time, is probably not the best time to do a podcast in terms of if we want the most viewership. That's pretty much a given. So whoever sees this by tomorrow, Saturday, you're more than welcome to use the lineup and the advice that we gave. And this was definitely good for an introductory podcast between me and Ash, and that's what I wanted to use this for. So I wanted to finally reach out and get with the Draft Shot guys, and we got one of the best here with us, and we would love to collab moving forward even more.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it. We should definitely do more. We align with the same values in DFS. We got the similar approach, so I'd be more than happy to.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait to talk NFL with you when we know who's going to be starting and playing the games. I think that's going to be very important.
For sure, no doubt.
So we're going to be doing weekly podcasts. We have Evan Chaney, who is going to be the host every week. I think we're going to be planning on doing them Wednesday nights to discuss football and possibly basketball, depending on what we end up doing with that. But we would love to have you guys on if you're ever interested, and if you ever have podcasts where we're available. I'm sure we would love to come on there as well. So, Ash, thank you very much. Guys, visit draftshot.com. You could follow Ash at draftshotash. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks a lot. You have a good night. Thank you.
See you, brother.